Alrighty, here we are again. It's Saturday morning, which means it's live from the Heartland. Here we sit on the sunny, I repeat, sunny corner of Lunt and Glenwood. For those of you who have lived through the last 2 weeks here in Chicago, it's time to come out now, babies. Yeah, that's okay. Sad time over. Sunshine. We don't know how long, so come out today, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. This is Easter weekend. It's been Passover this week. And for all of you pagans, just go right on singing and painting your bodies. Let's see. There's a couple things that I'm going to announce. My name's Katie Hogan. This week my partner's out on the East Coast visiting his mom. All hail Florence James, you beautiful elder and mother. But one interesting thing is going to happen in our neighborhood this week that hasn't happened for at least 20 years, and that is a friendly visit from a Chicago mayor. Mayor-elect Rahm Emanuel will be visiting Rogers Park this Monday night at the monthly political meeting of our Alderman Joe Moore. Since he thinks there might be an extra large showing for this meeting, it's going to be held at the Sky Room over at Loyola Park Fieldhouse, right over here at Greenleaf and the Lake. As usual on these Monday night meetings, the speaker speaks and folks ask questions. So if there's anything you'd like to know from our incoming mayor, show up Monday night. Socializing begins at 6:30 and the actual meeting starts at 7. Okay, we have a great full show today, and in addition to our friend and collaborator Matthew Filipowicz, who will be up in a little while, we're hoping Jamie O'Reilly, but if not, we have some surprise guests. Currently, I'm sitting right across the table from a woman who I've just met, and that is Michelle Ernsdorff, who is the founder and director, I assume, of Compass to Care. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, welcome to the Heartland.
Thanks.
You've never been here before, you said?
haven't. No, it's fantastic.
Yeah. We can smell those great whole wheat pancakes with blueberries in them and bacon. Turkey bacon, of course. All right, well, enough of that. Michelle, you have some really meaningful little outfit here, and let us talk to us about what is Compass to Care, and I'm going to ask you how you came up with it as well.
Great. So Compass to Care is a childhood cancer foundation, and our mission is to schedule and pay for the travel arrangements that families require to seek cancer care for their children.
Where did this come from?
So I'm a childhood cancer survivor, and I'm originally from Dubuque, Iowa, and there wasn't a pediatric oncologist in my hometown. So I ended up being treated at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. So it's about 208 miles from my parents' home. And so we traveled for 18 months back and forth while I was going through chemotherapy, and it really just wreaked havoc on my family financially. And there was a point where we had gone up, and I was unexpectedly hospitalized, and my father needed to get home. My mom needed to stay with me. They only had one car. They had no money in the bank. So my father couldn't afford a bus ticket or a plane ticket or anything to get home, so he ended up hitchhiking back home.
Wow. What years were these? How old were you when this was?
I was 14 months when I was diagnosed.
Wow.
Do I need to tell you what year that was?
Sure. No one's going to remember. You're way younger than me. Just let's do it.
Yeah, so it was 1974.
74. So, okay. And what type of cancer did you have?
So I had a kidney cancer called a Wilms tumor.
Okay. Is it normally found in toddlers?
Yeah, it's a very young cancer for children, and I was stage 2, so I ended up having my kidney removed.
Wow. And
then I had radiation therapy, and then, like I said, for 18 months I did chemotherapy.
And so you were operating all well.
Yeah, I've been cured for 35 years.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
and you're operating on one kidney.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yay, mom and dad.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness my mom had gone to the pediatrician, for my year checkup, and my mom thought my stomach looked a little big, but she asked the pediatrician, and he didn't think it looked abnormal, and I had actually had a 2.2 pound tumor in my kidney.
Whoa.
So Yeah, it had been growing for quite some time.
Whoa. My goodness. Do you have siblings?
I do. So I have an older brother and sister. And then the same month that I was diagnosed, my mom started having morning sickness. And so she called my father and said, I'm pregnant from the hospital. And my dad said, how do you know? And she was like, it's my fourth child. Like, I know that we're pregnant. And so, that added just such an additional level of complexity because here we are traveling and my mom is, having a baby halfway through my chemo regimen. So.
And did you remember all those years, the specific trials and tribulations that the travel and the additional cost of that were to your parents? Or how is it that's this much time later? Because Compass to Care is what, a year old?
We're a year old.
All right. What made you start it?
So I don't remember. I mean, I went into remission when I was 3.
Right.
And we traveled consistently to the Mayo Clinic, even beyond my cancer care, because from the radiation therapy, I ended up developing scoliosis. And so we traveled consistently until I was 14, and then I had back surgery when I was 17. But fast forward, I ended up working in the oncology environments, and my parents consistently would tell this story over and over about, how difficult that time was, and
the hitchhiking story.
Yeah, absolutely. And even my mom, when she still talks about it, she like gets teary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible time in families' lives when their child is going through this. And, it's something you never forget. And so I realized when I have been, like I said, working in the oncology environment that, like, my parents' story is not that unique. Families struggle like crazy when they're going through this, especially when they have to travel. And there's around 220 hospitals in the United States that actually care for pediatric oncology patients. So if you don't live in a metropolis area, you end up having to get in the car, get on a flight to get your child to where the pediatric oncologist is to care for you.
Right.
So
and stay there oftentimes.
And stay there, yeah.
Right.
We have families.
I mean, Ronald McDonald House is developed for just this reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they are amazing. And we work collectively with them. And we are absolutely not trying to duplicate any efforts. We're trying to be complementary.
Sure.
And so most of our families will stay at the Ronald McDonald House. There are instances and locations where there is not a Ronald McDonald House close to the hospital, and so then we end up having to put them, in alternate lodging. But we take care of, if they can stay at the Ronald McDonald House, we take care of everything beyond that. So gasoline, car rental, airfare, parking, meals, taxi fees, whatever else is involved.
So I might have interrupted your storytelling by asking the question. When you said I now work in the oncology environment, and that's what brought you back into proximity with all this, and how did you make the leap from looking around and seeing a problem and then applying yourself to it? How did that?
Wow, that's a good question. So I was actually a marketing VP for a pharmaceutical company.
Another one of those jobs that I just don't get what it means.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't really get what it means either, so that's fine.
All right.
And I just... I wasn't feeling that fulfilled in that role, and I thought I have been so fortunate. I mean, the fact that I'm 35 years I've been cured of cancer, and people did not think I was going to live at all.
Right.
And so I just felt like there was such a great opportunity for me to step in and help other families like my parents. Like I said, I still see the sorrow in their eyes, and I thought, if we can alleviate that for some other family, it would be so fantastic. And so I had a friend who's a physician, and I sat down with him one day, and I was like, I'm thinking of this idea of starting this organization. And he was like, I think it's brilliant. I think it's such a great idea. And so from that point, I got our... I was incorporated, and I started writing our business plan, because you have obviously have to have a full plan before you get your 501c3. And so I just decided to build it.
And what does the name Compass, which is spelled like compass that guides you home and where on the road, so it's Compass to Care. How did you come up with that?
So I felt like a lot of these families are lost and they don't know how it is that they are going to get where they need to go or to make ends meet. And obviously they're trying to get to where their child needs care, so we're their compass to care.
Oh, boy. Let me just say you are listening to Live from the Heartland on WLUW 88.7 FM, Chicago's Sound Alliance. We're here every week on Saturday morning from 9 to 10. And right now we're talking to Michelle Ernsdorff, who is the founder of Compass to Care, which basically is a year-old organization that helps families whose children have cancer with their travel arrangements primarily.
Yes, correct.
So it's been a year. You're off the ground. You look pretty happy. Does this fulfill you?
Absolutely. You know, as anybody who's started any kind of company or organization, there's definitely struggles in that. But every time I speak to a parent, I realize like my struggles are so much less than theirs, and we are really making a difference in their lives.
Yeah, well, that's fabulous. That's wonderful. So, what is your dream? How do people find you? And so you get to give us your website, and also what's your immediate plans, and how do you raise money? I'm sorry, that was about 3 questions at once. First, the website, and then we'll ask, how do you raise money?
So our website is compass2care.org, and that's spelled out the word compass.
COMPASS.
And the word 2, not the number 2, TO, care.org. Compass2care.org.
And so on there, you're informing people of your mission, and you're inviting them to contribute?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a donate button right on the front. If people would like to support us, it'd be fantastic.
So where do you wind up working the most? I mean, what you said before, there's 220 hospitals spread all around across the country, mostly in high-density areas. And I just can't imagine what it's like to be a family out in the boonies.
Yeah.
Where do you wind up? This is your central area of operations right here in the Midwest.
Right.
Where do you wind up taking kids from and to the most?
Well, it's interesting. When I initially started this, I thought I could save the world, and I thought, we'll just help everybody. Well, yeah. Then I realized that can't happen. So,
but
we
actually,
have to start
you
small.
are saving the world,
Right.
just in the place that you can hit it.
Right.
Okay.
So we decided to embrace our community as a whole. So we support currently families in Iowa or Illinois that, regardless of where they're traveling, as well as any family coming to one of our hospitals in Iowa or Illinois. Again, I'm from Iowa. I live in Illinois, so I want to make sure that we embraced, the 2 areas that are I call my home.
Yes.
And eventually we'll expand from there. So we have a lot of children that come into the city of Chicago from external places. We also have families that live in Chicago that their story is a little bit longer. Their child's been battling cancer for an extended period of time, and perhaps the physicians here don't feel like they can help them any longer.
Wow. And
so they end up finding clinical trials in other facilities that we end up sending families to. And I'll give you one example. We have a little girl, she's been battling Ewing sarcoma for just about 4 years.
Wow.
She's had her leg amputated, and she's been going through all types of chemo, and really nothing has worked. And so there's a clinical trial in Texas. Well, they can't move to Texas, but she has to be there every Monday for chemotherapy. So They fly every Sunday. They stay at the Ronald McDonald House. They go to chemo every Monday morning, and then they fly back home.
Wow.
And so, like I said, those are some of the more difficult situations. But then we also have, like families from Rockford that drive into Chicago. And
Sure. That's by itself kind of a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Because for our families, about 60% of the families, at least one parent quits their job. And we tend to have quite a few single parents. So when they end up having to quit their job because their child's not going back to school and their child's consistently in the hospital, all of a sudden they're in this downward spiral financially.
It sounds to me too, Michelle, like you do more than collaborate with, say, a Ronald McDonald. It sounds to me like you are also informing yourself of these trials, the clinical trials that might offer a ray of hope to some of the people you serve. Is that true?
Well, we have a medical advisory council that we reach out to every once in a while. But, our core focus is really to focus on travel, getting involved in medical, direction and things like that is really something so beyond our scope.
Okay.
Nonetheless, we do have an amazing council that if we do need to tap into them, for some additional resources or to know what other options are available, we do have that available.
Well, really nice work.
Thank you.
Is there any way that you do charity events to raise money for? Is there something coming up we can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Chicago, we are having it's called Living the Dream. It is a charity fashion show, and it is on May 7th at the DoubleTree at 300 East Ohio. And why do we call it Living the Dream? Because we've decided that we want to celebrate childhood cancer survivors who are living the dream of the cure, and we also want to bring inspiration and hope to all those children battling cancer that they one day can also be living this dream. And so in our fashion show, we have decided to put all adults and children who have battled cancer.
Excellent. That's excellent. Excuse me. Living the dream of a cure. So it's Saturday, May 7th, downtown at the DoubleTree?
Yes.
And they can get information on this on your website?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, one more time, say the website.
Our website is compass2care.org.
Michelle Ernsdorff, changing the world.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thanks.
All right, let's hear it from Michelle, and we will be right back. You're listening to Live from the Heartland, WLUW 88.7 FM. And we are back on the stage at the Heartland Cafe. I'm sure the sun is going to come back out again. I promised sun on the earlier break. It was here. It's just momentarily, refiguring its job today. But really, folks, today's going to be a sunny day. I recommend we all get outside, let it shine on our little faces so that we stop being so crabby. Okay. This is Katie Hogan. I'm your host today. Michael's out of town. And I'm going to tell you that Friday, April 15th is already gone. Never mind. Got this piece of paper in my stack of stuff. I'm not going to talk about it. But you know what? Heartland Cafe won a BEAT award, and that is BEET. 3s for the red vegetable. We won an award this week. And
not like a hippie beat award.
Not a beat, like boom, boom, boom. But, and it's all about being sustainable and using local groceries and all that good stuff. And I thought that was the paper I was reading from, not the April 15th. Anyway, hey, Matthew.
Katie.
Filipowicz.
Kogan.
All right. Matthew Filipowicz has been hosting the monthly Laughing Liberally event at the No Exit Cafe for
a while now.
3 years?
Probably like about 2 now, I think.
2 years,
yeah.
And it's too much fun. Often, just a tad too much fun.
And people are just overwhelmed with the amount of fun that they have. They can't handle it. But they have to go to a hospital. But it's worth it.
But honestly, what could be more important than the ability to intelligently make fun of and actually force us to laugh at the incredible amount of caca that's going on around us?
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, that was really nice. I'm sure that the listening audience loved that word.
Right.
But I mean, really, I'm so grateful for, say, Jon Stewart. When I finally hooked into him, it was when we were starting a war that we shouldn't have been starting, which was making me absolutely crazy. And yet, tuning into him and seeing, Mesopotamia.
Right.
It just made the day go a little easier.
I mean, traditionally, like comedy and satire, from Jonathan Swift, have been used as kind of a tool to actually, to bring down the powerful and the corrupt and the powerfully corrupt. And actually, I kind of as someone who's both a comedian and I also consider myself an activist. I kind of consider comedy to actually be sort of like a gateway drug to issue advocacy. them. It's like you can look at it
gateway
as
drug, and you know we like our gateway drugs.
the first one is free. It makes you laugh and giggle and feel good. But then it's something where you can draw attention to kind of important topic. It's a way of like, I mean, people shouldn't be getting all their news from the Daily Show, obviously, but it's a good way to you know.
No, there's also Colbert.
Exactly, those two shows, and then you're solid. But it's a way to draw attention to things that a story maybe you're not familiar with, or a way to laugh about something that's horrible that maybe would get you out to actually go and try to do something about it.
But they also, I mean, they do things that are actually, I would call educational.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, they pull up blips of the same politician talking out of both sides of his mouth,
right?
And throw a date up on it as if to say, yes, folks, you are not dreaming. They are so full of it.
Yeah.
They do talk out of both sides of their mouths.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I know that the Laughing Liberally is
first Wednesday of every month at No Exit,
and a love project. In that you just get the giggles and the pats on the back.
Exactly.
For it.
Yeah.
But you also have you're also a prolific writer. Your stuff in the Huffington Post. How often do you appear there?
Maybe every once a week or so. Or
once
something
a week.
Like that. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. I also just launched my own talk show. I'm not competing directly with Live from the Heartland, but it's
when and where?
Yeah, it's actually people can listen to it on at matthewf.net. There are new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. So essentially, the show is it's kind of like Laughing Liberally, but just audio essentially, where we talk about the news. We have interviews with the main reason I started.
I want to be on your show, Matthew.
Definitely, I'll have you on for sure. It's we have interviews with people. I know a lot of people who are smarter than me, and so I wanted to actually have an opportunity to like talk to them. So we interview politicians, writers, bloggers. I mean, we've had so far we've had Rick Perlstein, who wrote Nixonland. We've had Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks and MSNBC. We've had Mike Elk from In These Times, and let's see, Jason Barnett from The Uptake, John Nichols from The Nation, Dave Zirin, who's
our good friend.
Yeah, Dave Zirin. But we have interviews, but then we also have actual comedy sketches on the show. So it's about an hour long, but it's like a little mini variety show about politics.
How can you do about an hour? Aren't we very specific in
when it's on the web, you actually have a little bit of freedom.
Matter.
Exactly. You can do it. You could do 3 seconds and call it a show if you wanted to. I don't know if they'd listen, but you could do it.
Do you throw music in there?
Oh yeah, there's some music. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So are you having a lot of fun?
I'm having a great time doing it. It's a lot of fun. I think it's an informative but like entertaining show. So
how the heck do you put food on the table, Matthew?
Oh, gee.
Or is it up to that lady over there?
I am marrying up for sure.
Always a good idea.
Yeah.
If one is going to marry.
But I do video work. I do like animation and video work for progressive and liberal organizations. So if you have a progressive or liberal organization that wants a video, come to me. I do that for unions, for
So you're a graphics dude.
Yeah, graphics and animation and funny videos and stuff. I make some cash doing that.
Well, like I said, I admire people, and I sort of aspire. When I was teaching college for many, many years, I observed that it worked a lot better if I could get the students to laugh. Yeah. And I really thought for a while what I should do to augment my teaching work is to take a class at Second City and hone the art.
Yeah.
I never did that. I thought I should, but I never did that. So what you hear is what I got.
You're doing all right.
I was raised Irish Catholic with large amount of people. You sort of have to be a wise guy, in that crowd.
Yeah.
But still, I am really impressed when you can actually focus the questions or the approach to a horrible truth of life right now and make people laugh. So, like, for example, this week, okay, we've got people, wanting to take away Medicare.
Right, yes.
Okay, because that'll work.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and or you've got this guy named Trump. I can't even say his name.
Yeah.
I do not even want to say the man's name.
I don't know if you saw when he was talking about, so if people don't know, Donald Trump is planning on running for president.
That's a lot of malarkey.
That's true. But when he said he said if he wins, he's going to bring respect back to the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Because having a reality show person as a president is really what America needs to have respect.
With strange blonde, red-dyed hair.
I don't know if you saw. He actually, his vice president is actually going to be his hair. But Trump's main platform that he's running on, and it's frightening. His main platform is that Barack Obama wasn't born in America. That is his main platform, and he talks about how Trump is a birther.
In these times, it's very important
exactly
to know where people are born.
Right.
Even if they are all dying of hunger and thirst and
it's much more important.
Drones.
But it's what's funny about Trump and the fact that he is a birther. You kind of think is he that dumb that he's just even though you can find Obama's birth certificate online, it's there, you can look at it. But the thing is, there was actually a poll done recently of Republican-based voters. This is 100% true. 51% of Republican-based voters do not believe that Obama was born in America. So just think about this, Katie. If I'm a Republican-based voter and you're a Republican-based voter, which thankfully we're not because that would be horrible, but if both of us were, statistically speaking, one of us would be a birther. 1 out of 2.
I just don't believe it, Matthew.
It's absolutely true, and it's a failure. It's a failure of the media. Really, what it is. It's a total failure of the media, where literally half of a demographic can be factually wrong, and then it's worse than that. Okay, so 50% are sure that he wasn't born in America.
Don't we think there's something called racism involved?
100% it's racism.
Okay, just checking.
No, it's all right. Of course, it's the black guy. There's no way America could have elected the black guy unless there was some unless something else was involved here. But another 21% of Republican-based voters are not sure. They're up in the air. He might have been born in Hawaii. He might have been born in Kenya.
I suddenly feel like defending Republican-based voters. They cannot be that crazy.
Don't defend them. But Trump actually got a key endorsement this last week. I don't know if you saw this. Trump was actually endorsed by Gary Busey. He got the Busey vote, the strung out, alcoholic, trip over himself, drunk vote.
The guy who did the one good thing in his life was Buddy Holly's story, and he hasn't really figured out how to follow it up yet.
That was his peak.
It was. That's so sad. Well, I'm glad that he has endorsed that guy, whose name I shall not say. Because
the Voldemort of politics?
Exact, the Voldemort, right. I'm like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is on the air.
Right.
Who needs more airtime?
Yeah, definitely not.
That person, not. So how do you actually make fun out of, things that mostly policy wonks throw back and forth?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it is trying to have something that's short and funny, and again, you can't. For something that's wonky, okay, I'll give you an example.
That's what I was hoping.
All right, so I recently made a video about Darrell Issa. Do you know who Darrell Issa is? Darrell Issa?
Oh, yes.
He's a Republican congressman in California. Right. When the Republicans took back the House in the last election, Darrell Issa is now the head of the House Oversight Committee. Darrell Issa, however, has also been arrested not once, not twice, but 3 times for stealing cars.
No kidding.
No kidding. He has been accused of lighting a factory on fire. And this is the man who is now in charge of keeping the government, overseeing the government, making sure it's not corrupt. We have a car thief as the man who is supposedly the
what a country
of exactly.
What a country! I love it.
But so I made a video called Grand Theft Issa, which was a parody of the Grand Theft Auto video games, where he was actually the main character in the video game and doing all the. But the thing is, you don't make it up because again, the guy is a car thief. There's not. This isn't a question. But the thing is, most Americans, we're at a progressive place. We're at the Heartland Cafe. I can imagine maybe 5 out of the 40 people in here know that Darrell Issa did that. That is not something that's widely known to the American public.
No.
But then again, that's something where, like I said earlier, where comedy is sort of this gateway drug. So if someone sees that video and they laugh and they're like, "Oh my, I can't believe that Darrell Issa, the person who is the House Oversight Committee, is a car thief. How is that even possible in America today?"
How is it possible that he's a congressman?
He actually, Darrell Issa, he made his fortune. He's rich for one.
Okay.
Viper car alarms. Do you remember in the 80s?
It just gets
this
better,
car is
folks.
protected by Viper. That's Darrell. That's actually his voice. That is his actual voice on the old Viper car alarm ads.
And I guess he'd know since he had broken into a stolen car.
Exactly. He knows what he's doing. You know, it's his own personal experience.
What a riot!
Yeah.
What a riot!
Mm-hmm.
So do you just spend a lot of time winnowing through news clips to find out these arcane?
I'm constantly like in a low lit room, leaning over my computer, sucking down coffee, and just shaking with anger and rage.
That's great. Were you going to make jokes about Medicare?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know so much to make jokes about it, but like, okay, so people
how do we do that? Because I want to.
That one's painful.
Yeah.
So I mean, if people should wake up, because actually, what's horrible about the Medicare thing is actually not just Republicans. Dick Durbin seems to be kind of down with meeting Republicans halfway on this, which is horrible. So people in Illinois listening, call Durbin and tell him not to compromise on this one, because so essentially Republicans are trying to entirely repeal Medicare and replace it with a voucher program with like a 15 to 20
by the state.
By the state. So they would get states would get like people would get a $15,000 to $20,000 voucher. And so the question is to Republicans then, once that $15,000 runs out, then what happens? So if your grandma and grandpa, if they run out of, you know what happens? They either sell their home, they sell their belongings, or they die. And that is the absolute truth. They have no answer. It's either or you can have your kids sell their home, or have your grandkids not go to college. It's again, it's one of these things where it's like people really need to wake up, because this is they really are trying to do this. They're also trying to get rid of Medicaid and replace it with, because Medicaid currently is an entitlement program where people get a minimum amount of care. But so the way they want to do it now is actually do it as a flat block grant as well, where it's so again once it runs out, you die, essentially.
So the joke would be something along the lines of, if you're entitled,
yes, you get to live,
and if you're one of the very, very wealthy in this country, which, the most entitled.
I think the thing is about, I mean, if you remember when Obama was trying to pass health care, which granted it's not that great of a bill that he ended up passing, but you remember all the Tea Party and the Teabaggers with their signs,
the death panels,
not just the death. Well, this truly is a death panel, because only there's no panel. There is no actual panel. It's just you run out of money and you die. But if you remember, the Teabaggers had their signs. Where are they now? The keep your government hands off my Medicare.
Right.
Where are they now? Because literally they're trying to destroy it now. It's just because it's the failure of the media. Because again, we're talking about people who half of them do not believe that Obama was born in America. They're uneducated. They're racist, and and again, it's the failure of the media to actually have these people know facts anymore.
Well, but I think it's really much more important that we get at least one more Housewives show on the air.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know. Do we have a Housewives of Chicago?
There should be the Real Housewives of Rogers Park.
I think the Real Housewives of Chicago could break the mold.
That could, yeah.
They could actually talk about meaningful things.
Yes.
They could actually not get Botox, but instead, like, go plant trees.
Go plant trees, yeah.
And argue with their local alderman about recycling and stuff like that.
Yeah, try to go up against Rahm.
Okay, maybe not Real Housewives, real homemakers.
Homemakers, yeah, that would work.
Because then they could be bisexual. They could be by gender.
We don't have to go heteronormative here. We can go anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. It is the People's Republic of, after all. You are listening to Live from the Heartland on WLUW 88.7 FM. We are here every week on Chicago Sound Alliance, talking with people who are making a difference in the world, and hoping and wishing that you all are doing the same out there. Right now, I'm talking with Matthew Filipowicz, and Your new show, where do people find it?
It's at on the interwebs. It's at matthewf.net. We have new shows every Tuesday and Thursday. Again, it's liberal talk, news, and comedy.
MatthewF.net.
Yes, I figure people trying to spell my last name, Filipowicz, is kind of hard.
It's good. It's good that you did that.
So yeah, I wouldn't even attempt it.
Because it's also helpful that it's F, because some people might do a PH thing.
That's true. That's true. Go phonetically.
Exactly.
Yes.
And of course, every first Wednesday of the month, you are live with your entourage.
Exactly.
Your ensemble, which is kind of a cool group.
Yeah. It's hosted, Laughing Liberally Chicago. It's hosted by myself and my two other guys, Tim Grimes and James Davis. We're a comedy group called the Accountants of Homeland Security.
Accountants of Homeland Security.
And it's a great show. It's a variety show. We have stand-ups talking about political issues. We have a music act every month. We always have a variety act, actually. Like some kind of like magician or fire eater or something like that. We have something off, and we also every month we also have an interview. And actually, coming up this month on the first the May 4th probably, the first Wednesday of May, we have Tom Gagan, who is an author and labor lawyer. He's going to come and talk about his new book, which is phenomenal. It's Were You Born on the Wrong Continent? And it's an amazing book that actually examines like social democracies in Europe, comparing what we get here for the amount of taxes we paid compared to what we get, what Europeans get in, say, Germany. It's an amazing book, and Tom's a great speaker. So if people are, and the show is 100% free, so you really have no excuse not to come. It's not like, oh, I can't afford the $5 to get in. The show's free. There's cheap booze and good food.
Yeah, and it all happens at the No Exit at 6970 North Glenwood, right up the street here. And Matthew, just another thing about the role of it's sort of being the jokes, the clown, the trickster,
right?
Which is a pretty central role in mythology and in literature, etc. It's actually like the truth teller, right? The one who sort of pulls at the hem of the powerful, and yet who also is kept nearby by certain powerful to give them, at least in literature, to give them the full view of the world.
Right.
Do you feel that calling? Do you have that career notion in your head?
I mean,
I see you as that.
Thank you. I don't. I wouldn't put myself as. I'm not that important. Personally.
He's humble too.
We serve a purpose. It's like, again, it's a piece of the puzzle. That's all it is. And it is important to have that, to have someone who can, through humor and satire, to draw something out that maybe someone's saying. If you have two sides saying something seriously back and forth to each other, it's just talking heads back and forth. But if you get someone to laugh about it, because they're laughing at the truth, is what it is. Because most good comedy is based in truth. Right. If they're laughing at the truth, it's a way where you can't deny that, because if there's a response to it, it's coming from an honest place. So again, I wouldn't put myself, that I'm not that important. But the overall, it is definitely an important piece of an overall puzzle.
So just one thing, because I have seen a few shows, and the recent one, and there are some things that are hard to laugh at.
Sure.
And I know that you experiment, and sometimes things fall flat.
Definitely.
And so how do you regroup? I'm thinking specifically of something
booze.
About
nothing but booze. I'm drunk now.
That's great, because there was something last time about abortion that didn't quite.
Didn't work.
Didn't work.
That didn't fly very well. No.
Although the civil liberties dude was good.
Yeah.
And the follow-up to the civil liberties guy was good.
Yeah. We did a bit on Planned Parenthood where we had one of our cast members, James, played this guy who was pretending to. And it's funny in concept. He was, but again, it didn't exactly work that night. He was pretending to be a woman, but so he was a guy trying to. So the whole thing was like, women, and people say it's just people who are anti-choice are just guys trying to tell women what to do with their bodies. Well, here I am. I'm a woman trying to tell women what to do with their bodies.
With his beard showing through.
Exactly. So it doesn't always work. But then for everything that doesn't work, you'll have one that does. And then you go backstage, you cry and you drink, and
you just go ba-dum-bum and on to the next thing.
And you just go, well, there you go. Yeah, you just shrug it off, dust it off, and then come out for the next one.
And at least one of your ensemble members went off to L.A. to do.
He did.
What did he do? The Drew Carey show or something?
No, he actually went out there because he actually has a pilot script that he's shopping around. It's a long story, but he has a pilot that's based off of the rock band The Replacements. That's loosely based off of that. So, but it's a really good script and stuff. So he went out there to have a couple meetings. He was out there for a few months trying to. It ultimately didn't work out, but it's show business. It can happen at any time. So.
Well, Matthew, I feel like we're lucky to have you in our community.
Well, I'm happy, and I love doing the show here. I love what you and Michael do here at the Heartland and at No Eggs and at the Red Line. It's central to this community up here, and I wouldn't want to do it anywhere else in Chicago. I think this is like people who don't know this area of Rogers Park are really, really missing out. It's like you guys have this amazing just hub for a community here that where people can come, they can have good food, they can meet, they can talk about things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think you could talk about at a restaurant, but you guys give them that venue, and it's wonderful, and I love this place amazingly so. So I wouldn't want to do it anywhere else in Chicago.
Wow. Well, okay, I'm fanning myself. You can't see that on radio. Matthew Filipowicz.
Close enough.
MatthewF.net, right?
That's right.
And you got to check this guy out, and you should come to the next Laughing Liberally, which is Wednesday, May 4th. Which is the anniversary of Kent State.
Oh, wow.
There are some dates that stick in my mind.
Yeah.
And Matthew, thank you for supplying us with our third guest on the radio show today, which we will come back with, and that is some folks who call themselves the Professional Left Podcast, professionalleft.blogspot.com. So we're going to find out about them together, audience. It's one of those times where we pull from the wonderful and rich audience of Heartland customers to fill out the radio show. So with this, thank you so much. Let's hear it for Matthew Filipowicz. Matthew, let's hear it for him. We will be right back with Live from the Heartland on WLUW 88.7 FM. Oh, and that is such great music. Thank you so much. Live from the Heartland is a group endeavor. It is brought about every week by the work of many people. Right now I'm looking at Angel Herrera and Dan Kugler and Lisa Smith and Laura Herman and Michael James and myself and Eli Sloan all help work together to make this happen, and we're really grateful. I got those thank yous in before my last guest because that's good. Then I don't run out of time at the end. I love this. I have guests up here who I'm going to call at their request. Bluegal and Driftglass. Hi, guys.
Great to be on the show. Thank you.
Good to see you.
We're meeting on air, all you folks out there. So where do you guys come from? I know I just got you from table number 71, but you do something called the Professional Left Podcast. Mm-hmm. How come?
Well, we're both bloggers. We both got radicalized about 6 years ago and started blogging then. And I live in Chicago, and Bluegal lives in the cornfield, as we say, downstate. And about 70 episodes ago, a little more than a year ago, we started doing a podcast, and we were going strong ever since.
Wow. What radicalized you 6 years ago?
2004 election.
Say that again?
The 2004 election.
Oh, yeah.
The fact
that one.
So many people could be so wrong in one day. So it was heartbreaking.
Assisted by vote fraud in Ohio.
Well, yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And is that what radicalized you as well?
Yeah. Well, that's what got me blogging. I started blogging Election Day 2004.
Really?
And Took it from there. Yep.
And did you meet via the
We did. We met
web
via
sphere?
blogging.
We did.
And
Wow.
The blogosphere is the best dating service ever.
All right.
yes,
I'm going to have to take
like
your word
Matt
for that.
Filipowicz, Driftglass and I are engaged to be married. We're getting married in August.
Oh, congratulations
Yeah,
to
thank you.
all of you
Thank you.
out there and meeting each other on the web line.
And we owe Robert
Land.
Gibbs a great debt of gratitude for the name of our podcast, because he's the guy who, the presidential spokesman who came out and said, called us the professional left in this sneering, awful, sort of demeaning way.
That's right.
And we were both sitting on my couch going, I wonder what we should call this podcast of ours. We don't have a name yet. Thank you, Robert Gibbs. Thank you so
Oh, my
much for your
gosh.
generosity of spirit and your turn of a phrase.
We will never forget.
No.
So clearly, I have never seen or visited your site since we met about 2 minutes before I came on the air. But if I did, what would I find there? Is it stuff to listen to?
Yes, we're basically just a podcast. Driftglass blogs at driftglass.blogspot.com, and I blog at bgalourstate.blogspot.com. But our podcast is a separate enterprise, professionalleft.blogspot.com, and we do a weekly show which drops Friday, right around noon Central Time. And we get to talk for 40 minutes about politics, and we laugh a lot, too. I think it's a funny
good.
show.
Yeah, Matt's right.
Matt's
It's a
absolutely
gateway
right.
drug, yeah.
What-
Comedy is a gateway
weekly?
drug.
Weekly?
It's every week.
Every Friday?
We do it every Friday. We haven't missed a Friday, actually, in over a year. We're on our 70th episode, and we are on iTunes also for you iPhone users out there.
And we get emails at 9, 10, 11 o'clock on Friday morning from regulars going, when's the damn podcast going to drop?
Oh, really?
Yes,
do
we
have
have a fan base that
loyal,
we're
happy
really
listeners.
very grateful for.
From all over
Yeah.
the world. That's the really cool thing about the internet.
I know, I love
Literally
that.
all over the world. Isn't it great?
Well, this is webcast, this show, and we have friends in Montana, California, other places who I'll go off the air and I'll find an email from them saying,
We get a lot of really good feedback from red states, from
Yes.
liberals in red states going, you
Oklahoma,
gave me
Texas.
vocabulary.
Yeah,
you gave me
yeah, I need
context."
you, I want
Absolutely.
you, thank you so much.
Yeah, isn't that great? Isn't
I know,
that incredibly rewarding?
it's true. It's why, figures like 51% of the base Republican vote believes that, I just can't, there's more smart people out there than we know about, than is obvious by our media and anything else that we could measure.
And one of the things that we have emphasized on our podcast, too, is not being ashamed to be a liberal, because the other side has made the word liberal such a dirty word.
Yeah, right.
And
It's bogus.
you have to reclaim it, and you really have to own it. And I think we've helped a lot of people in those red states sort of reclaim the word liberal and what their moral values are, and to recognize that they have moral values of caring for their neighbor, and that they can stand up for those moral values. We really try to emphasize that.
and that standing up for your moral values against folks who are sort of waving the morality banner.
Well, there's a huge difference between having moral values and moralizing.
Yeah, very good.
Well, and the Paul Ryans of the world have a coherent ideology. They come out of a very clear, they know what the answer to every question is. And liberals sometimes get trapped into retail discussions of each and every issue and forget this is a moral issue. This is a moral crusade. And you have to fight ideology with ideology and morality with morality. And you can't get sucked into debating, tiny issues that distract you.
This whole economic meltdown that we've been having, I think, is an opportunity to have that conversation about morality.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because if you actually are guided by some kind of moral ruler, measuring stick, whatever, you don't go to war. That's not the top priority on your budget.
Right.
So what gets the most money in your budget is what you prioritize as the most important thing to do.
Right.
Whether that's educate kids, take care of old people, both of the above.
Absolutely.
That sort of thing. And if we stop starting wars and initiating a higher level of conflicts, how much money would we have to be doing this?
Well, and start at the very beginning of that economic crisis and say, we have now proven beyond any doubt that the casino economy does not work.
Thank you.
Let's go back to making things. Let's go back to middle class people being paid a living wage, a decent wage, to do productive work.
Yeah.
And suddenly a lot of your problems evaporate because people have money and schools have funding and parents have stable homes and education gets paid for.
I think a lot of people wonder if they can even return to making things. You know, the whole, Rust Belt thing about,
That's a thing of mine. Yes, we can. Absolutely.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. The manufacturing economy in Illinois is, I think, third most productive. There's been 26 months of straight growth in manufacturing. There are probably 300,000 people in Illinois who work in manufacturing. And most importantly, this is one of those little facts that I just happen to have in my back pocket. Manufacturing has what's called a multiplier effect.
Of course it does.
Every job in the manufacturing economy generates 5 jobs in the rest of the economy, as opposed to retail that generates 0.5 jobs in the retail.
All of us
economy.
local first business owners use that same
Absolutely.
Multiplier.
And we can do it. I mean, buying locally, trading locally, making locally, supplier
growing
groups
locally.
Of people, absolutely cuts down on fuel costs. Your carbon footprint decreases.
Sure.
The people who make windmills are manufacturers. People who make solar panels are manufacturers. So we absolutely can. We just have to not let it slip away from us. And it's really important that we.
And
do.
we haven't already?
No, I don't believe that.
With all of the goods that are made in China? And
Well, to be a liberal is to have faith.
all right. Okay. Falling back on that faith thing, are you?
Darn right.
Yeah, I know all about that. So, Blue Gal,
Yeah.
you said something to me when you came back up about, you could talk to me about Kent State because I had
sure
mentioned
can.
it because May 4th coming up, and that is the day. And you said you were there.
I was there. I was in first grade.
Yeah, I was going to say you had to be a babe in arms.
But my dad-
also, why would that not have radicalized you?
Oh,
of course,
yeah,
you were
it
in
absolutely
first
did.
grade.
Well, my dad was an art professor at Kent State, and my
Wow.
grandfather was a math professor at Kent State.
Wow.
And my mother got her master's degree from Kent State. So all that is old home for us. And
But you were actually on campus?
I was in school that day. My dad was teaching over at Hiram College in Ohio that day, and we were rushed home from school with sirens and smoke in the air. It was very terrifying. I went home, and my mother, for the first time in my life, had the front door locked. She unlocked it and let me in and locked the door again. And my 2 younger sisters, who were preschoolers at the time, she had put into her pajamas because she feared an evacuation. The whole town had been invaded by the National Guard.
Wow.
So the downtown had National Guard troops, the campus had National Guard troops, and there was smoke from the
Tear gas. Right.
actually wafting over the town. It
Wow.
was very terrifying.
Wow.
And I turned to the television. My sisters were just playing in the living room. They don't remember anything about it because it was just another day to play.
Sure.
But I saw Walter Cronkite talking about Kent on my little black and white TV, and it was exciting for a first grader to see our town on TV. But my mom explained to me, no, this isn't
Not
good.
for a good
This is not
reason.
good.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad came home, and we weren't sure whether we were going to be evacuated or not. It was really that scary. It turned out that no one was evacuated, but 4 students died. And that was a time when middle-class white people sent their kids of draft age to full-time campuses to keep them from being drafted.
Or
they
shot.
wouldn't- Or shot. And all of a sudden, their children are on campus where they're supposedly safe from the draft and safe from being shot, and they're being shot. And that really turned things around.
And they're being
in terms
shot
of
by
the
their
war.
government.
Yeah,
Right.
by their government.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
who would ever think that a Republican president would invade a country without permission, like Nixon did in Cambodia?
Exactly.
You would think that would never happen again after that, wouldn't you?
You would think. You would think.
And you look what's happening in Wisconsin. We both saw on the Rachel Maddow show, which we both thoroughly enjoy.
Yes, he's
the
a good
girls'
educator.
The girls' school in school in Michigan.
Oh, Michigan, yes.
They're being rousted out by the cops. They're being arrested. They're being dragged out of their school because the governor has decided to put it on the chopping block. And you see grainy.
The governor has decided to what?
Put the school on the chopping block.
Right.
It's a school for pregnant girls that helps them get into college in Detroit.
What could be worse?
And you see grainy photos, you see jiggly photos of cops dragging kids, pregnant girls.
Pregnant girls
We haven't
into their
changed
cop
a
cars.
bit. We haven't changed a bit.
Holy smokes.
You know?
And the cops put their sirens on so that the girls' voices couldn't be heard as they were being arrested.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So is this on your site?
No.
Do you talk about that?
The Rachel Maddow stuff?
No, that was
it's
last
on
night.
Rachel Maddow
Was that
show. It was
last
on
night?
last night. Yeah, so
I gotta
go to
check that out.
MSNBC.com and watch
Everything
that.
else is on our site. Every single thing you could possibly
Everything
want
else.
is on
So
our site.
once again, your site. You guys speak into the mic and tell people where to find
Certainly.
you.
My blog is the Driftglass blog at driftglass.blogspot.com.
That's called Driftglass. DRIFTGLASS.
If you Google Driftglass, I'm the first or second hit.
Okay.
And Bluegal.
Same with Bluegal. If you Google Bluegal, you'll find me right away.
And Bluegal also helps run the Crooks and Liars site, the massive, awesome
Oh, really?
Yes.
Crooks and Liars site. She's one of the key people
there every night on Open Thread. And actually, our podcast is always posted at the Open Thread on Saturday nights at Crooks and Liars. So if you're a Crooks and Liars fan, our podcast is there every Saturday night, 8:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Central.
Well, this is really just a very nice opportunity, particularly because
grateful that we could be here.
You're not normally in town. I know, Bluegal, you're down in the boonies, as you put it. But professionalleft.blogspot.com.
Yeah.
Our guests today, and probably another time down the road, I'd say.
Our pleasure.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's hear it for our guests from professionalleft.blogspot.com. You are listening to Live from the Heartland, which will be back again next week. Hopefully another sunny day. It is Easter weekend. Go out and play, everybody. Monday night is the Saving Green Together and Mayor in the Neighborhood. So we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.